Stanley.
The Argentinian men at Goose Green fought very well. The British had many casualties, but not enough to change the final outcome of the war.
Argentina hadn't been able to hold on to Goose Green, but all was not yet lost. The British were running out of time. A single counterattack might have been enough to change the outcome.
I wanted to counterattack. We had the strategy and the troops were ready to go. We were planning to do it at night, but the authorization for the counterattack never came. The general told me in all honesty, I cannot maintain this with the logistics that we have.
That would have made life difficult, and eventually I think what would have happened, it would have slowed up the British advance, caused heavy casualties, and I think might well have forced the international opinion to lean on the British government to say you've got to come to some sort of agreement.
Counterattacks must be planned in detail and even rehearsed. Otherwise, they can't be carried out properly.
I think I should have disobeyed orders and counterattacked. We were only one step away from winning the war, if we had at least tried. We should have taken that last step.
The war lasted another 17 days. Problems that had plagued the Argentine forces throughout the war now played out simultaneously in several final battles on different fronts. With the British slowly closing in on its major objective, Port Stanley. By the second week in June, both sides were exhausted. The British were short on ammunition, and the naval task force barely able to fight.
By that time, 14th of June, I recorded in my diary the words, if the Argentinians could just breathe on us, we'd fall over.
But Argentina's land forces were in an even worse state. By that June the 14th, Argentina's military resolve was completely worn out. General Menendez signed the surrender document.
The time came when, as I told General Galtieri that morning of June the 14th, I could not ask anything more of my soldiers who had fought so much and who had lost so much. Now we have to take on this historic responsibility, as I have done. It was my mission as a commander.
After just 74 days of war, the fight over the Falklands ended as quickly as it had begun. The relatively short conflict had far-reaching implications for its participants. The downfall of Argentina's military junta was hastened by their losing a poorly planned and fought war. A war that was intended to win the hearts and minds of their disillusioned country.
The central point to understanding the war is the false assumption that Great Britain would not react militarily.
In the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher's popularity soared on the crest of patriotic sentiment generated by the war. She and her party went on to win an early general election. Today, the Falkland Islands remain in British hands, but there are those in Argentina who still feel let down by their military commanders. When it began in April 1982, the outcome of the Falklands conflict was far from certain. The art of war, someone once said, is to make fewer mistakes than your opponent. And the case of the Falklands certainly proves this point. Just one less mistake by Argentina, or one more by Great Britain, might have changed the course of history.